Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for joining us today. This is the Black Lives Matter rally, virtual rally put together for you by the United Front of the Diaspora. We have many lineups, many speakers lined up for you. Quick reminder that the speakers, please stay within the time allotted so we can get through everybody. So I will start. I will start with the famous words of Toussaint Louverture. En me renversant, on n'a abattu que le tronc de l'arbre de la liberté, mais il repoussera car ses racines sont profondes et nombreuses. Those were the pronounced words of Toussaint Louverture. In overcoming me, you've only cut the trunk of the tree of liberty of the blacks. It will spring up again from its roots, for they are many and they are deep. Indeed, Dessalines will continue the revolution and create the first Black Republic. Haiti under Petion will continue to liberate the Great Colombia, which is now all the countries, Venezuela, Panama, and Colombia. There's about 7 countries that was the Great Colombia at the time that are freed because of the Haitian people. Haitians have also fought to help free the United States and also to gain its freedom and independence from the British Empire. Haiti and the Haitian people have always been the bearers of the torch of freedom. Haitians are freedom fighters wherever they are. We may be abused, but we will overcome. When they wanted to label us as AIDS carriers, we shook the Brooklyn Bridge and took over downtown in a day that FDA had to change their statement. When the police in New York City abused one of our brothers, Abner Rima, we stood and fought for justice. In today's fight for justice, we stand with our brothers in America and around the world to claim what is ours at birth, to live free and equal. Can you hear the Haitians? Can you hear how our heart beats? We are here with you. You can hear us. You can hear our drum beats from Miami to Boston to Canada. In New York, Haitian Rara led the Black Lives Matter protests across the Brooklyn Bridge last month. We are duly in the fight. We stand united and in solidarity with all freedom fighters, with our Black American brothers. L'union fait la force. There is strength in unity. We know that we will see better days ahead as we stand in the shoulders of our giants like Toussaint Louverture, Boukman, Dessalines, Tante Toya, Makhandal, Malcolm X, Martin Luther King, just to name a few. We will not be denied. We will fight to the end of days. L'union fait la force, Aibobo. So without further ado, I'm going to the next speaker. Which is, so when we are called, please turn your mic on and you can start speaking. Please be respectful of the time. The first speaker is Mayor Joseph Champagne from New Jersey. Mayor Champagne.
Greetings to you all. In the name of God, the beneficent, the most merciful, I bear witness that there is none but He. And I bear witness that regardless to labor, land, or language, there is but one God. And it is that God who has given us the strength and the power to overcome all obstacles that were placed upon us from the beginning of our sojourn from our motherland, Africa, into a strange land amongst a strange people, those Caucasian who saw fit to replace us to replace those indigenous whom they have destroyed, and they have replaced those indigenous people with our brothers and sisters. We know the history. We know what God did. For the history of Haiti is truly the history of God, the history of how where there is injustice, there is always justice eventually. So the history of Haiti is really a history of hope to all oppressed people wherever they may be. Delve into that history. See how the modern Davids were able to overcome and destroy the Goliaths. So I'm coming to you humbly to force some of us to look deep into our history and stop looking at our history as if we were a bunch of people inspired by the devil. No, God was involved, and he sent many Moses to us. Makhandal, Boukman, Dessalines, Toussaint Louverture, Tantoya, Cécile Fatima, Claire Ewers. These were men and women who represent the proverbial Moses. So as we look into the movement of the Black Lives Matter spoken of in many different places, not only in America, but also throughout the world, know that the cry for Black Lives Matter started and was concretized in Haiti. Yes, our ancestors said that enough was enough, and they believed and knew that their lives matter, and they rose up and sacrificed that life that mattered so that they could save the greater population, which is their own people. So, brothers and sisters, we know who our enemy is. Our enemy is the same one that was, but the problem is that enemy has crept in us through the educational system, to the religious order, and have made us an enemy of ourselves by circumstance, but we are not enemy of ourselves by nature. Depuis nan Guinée, nèg te toujours aimé nèg. But it is through the miseducation and the religious dogmas that have caused us to lose that spirit of brotherhood, that spirit of love for each other, and that have caused us now to go at each other's throat, accepting the guns that the enemy has put in our community, in our country, to kill one another. Where was those guns when we needed them, when we were fighting against the British, against the Spaniard, against the French? Why now should they give us those guns? It is because they know the job has been completed of inserting the self-hatred element in us. But I'm glad that we have a united front that is seeking to unite those brothers and sisters, our Haitian brothers and sisters, not only from a national standpoint, but our brothers and sisters from America or throughout the world. We are one people regardless of national origin. So we must be united as one. And the last thing I want to say is that on July 4th, which is this Saturday coming, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan will be giving a major announcement to the world to address the atrocities that our people have been facing. He's going to address the leaders of the world who has saw fit to oppress the peoples of the world and make an announcement. And I pray that the leaders of the world will heed his call, because if they don't, I'm sorry for them, because God's is present and he's in the world. And so, brothers and sisters, don't feel as if you are alone in this fight. We are one, and we're gonna continue to find ways to link up with one another so that we can continue the legacy of our brothers and sisters pre-1804. And we claim the destiny of Haiti. We claim the destiny of the United States of America, which we have contributed greatly in making it such a great country by giving them access to the Louisiana territory, which now houses 15 states. Yes, we did all of that. But more importantly, we want to reclaim the world, because that was the goal of Jean-Jacques Dessalines, not only to free Haiti and the surrounding nations, but to free all the oppressed people all over the world. And that's why he issued not only the independence of Haiti, but it was a universal declaration of independence against oppression and tyranny. Thank you so much for listening, and I look forward to participating, to hearing your expose. And I want to say from the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, I love you, and I want to stand with you. Thank you. Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam. Thank you, brother Mayor Champagne. Next, we'll hear from a young lady from Georgia who's been very active in the movement. Her name is Tamarre Torchon. Tamarre, you have the floor.
Thank you. Thank you so much. For the sake of time, I'd like to thank the Haitian United Front of the Diaspora and, of course, Mr. Flunz Bourget for allowing me the opportunity to be here. So at first, I wanted to talk in regards to the Black Lives Matter and what the Haitian community here in the U.S. can be doing to contribute to the works of the movement. Now, originally, when Black Lives Matter started the hashtag, it was one to spread the knowledge and the word on social media, but also to bring a front so everyone can actually collaborate and also find the information necessary for those who were falling to the abuse of police officers around the nation, specifically as it relates to Black lives. Today, that message has also maintained in regards to fighting against police brutality, but also it has extended to all injustice and oppression against Black lives in general. And what that calls for when we say Black Lives Matter, or when Black Lives Matters are shouted from young people, all types of people from around the nation, is basically including all people, right? Including Black immigrants and Black people, and as far as whatever the justice is, whether the word is African-American or Black people, however you want to consider yourself, right? So more so Black people, Black immigrants coming together for a stronger front in the fight against racism, structural and systematic discrimination against all Black people for that matter. We ask ourselves what we can do. And I know I always say that there's roles in every way to make movement or make change happen. You have your marchers and your protesters and your aggressors and those who are on the street day and night, they're standing. Then you have the people that are in the courtrooms or in your legislators, right? That are moving on that front. And then you have your people that are organizing. So it's all a sense of bringing together all fronts, whether you're marching and you're walking, whether you're protesting, whether you're getting legislation and policies taken care of, or whether you're organizing within your groups. This includes building a power for Black communities, from Haitian Americans, for all immigrants and Black people, through community and advocacy, through building local alliances and cultivating and advancing for local and state legislation. To close out, some of the things that can be done now are organizations that are already in place, which means donating our services, our talents that we have, and ensuring that we contribute to the works that are being done. Organizing our groups through our socials, through our churches, through our programs that we're a part of, to participate in the work that is being done all over the nation. And lastly, donating our finances, our resources as it relates to monetary. The works that needs to be done, yes, can be done through services, but that green allows people to get work done amazingly, whether financing programs, financing leaderships, financing or organizers as a whole. So through all those things in advocacy and working towards it, I believe that Haitian Americans, not only here in Atlanta, but around the nation can contribute to the movement. Thank you. You're on mute still. You're on mute.
Yes, thank you, thank you. I was muted. Thank you. So thank you, Tamarre, for these beautiful words that you spoke in today. Is next we're going to have a young man from Virginia, Joshua Moise. Joshua Moise, you have the floor.
Hey everyone. My name is Joshua Moise, and I'm so glad to be able to speak on this amazing platform with all you wonderful people. I'd like to start off by saying a quote from Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Hate cannot drive out hate, only love can do that. Darkness cannot drive out darkness, only light can do that. Too many times we find ourselves in situations where things that are being said or done do not align with our beliefs, our morals, and our political standards. I say too often that future America has no room for radicalism, no room for those who aren't open to change. However, it has become a daily occurrence where we see someone speaking publicly via social media or in person about something charged with biased radicalism. It is here where I ask all members of the Haitian community, all members of the Black community, all American citizens to use the LBRE method of confrontation. Listen, back off, research, and educate. Listen to when someone tells you that Black on Black crime happens way more than white on Black crime. Step away from the conversation and research. Through your research, you will find that Black on Black crime happens at a rate almost identical to white on white crime. You will also find that Black on Black crime is not racially charged. An African American will not kill another African American just for the color represented by his skin. You will find that the suspects and perpetrators of Black on Black crime get punished severely. You will find that the suspects of Black on white crime walk away free too often, and that an overwhelming amount of white on Black crime is racially charged. Your last step is to educate. Approach the person who made these opinionated claims and educate them. I say educate them instead of debate for one reason. When you enter a debate, the parties involved all have their standpoints. They all have their own opinions. More often than not, these parties leave these debates further away from understanding other viewpoints than when they had first entered the debate. You'll see, and more set on their own opinions, which creates further divide. When you educate someone, you present to them undeniable facts that they can either accept or ignore. You'll see that when you present someone with facts, their viewpoints will shift, further closing the divide. Using LBRE will help unite America through education. Too many times people get devoured by ignorance, the same ignorance that leads them to believe things that aren't true and vote for people who do more harm than good. This is our country, and I will believe that we will fight until we receive the justice we deserve. That is all. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Joshua. A little pause for a little music.
Pour nous toutes qu'à vivre en paix, vrai. Voyez them chanter ça. Mon compère, oui. Ah, oulo, mon compère, oui. Voyez them chanter ça. Mon compère, oui. Ah, oulo, mon compère, oui. Voyez them chanter ça. Mon compère, oui.
Okay, is next on the schedule is Habacuc Petion. He's representing Delaware and Maryland. Petion, Habacuc, if you're online, please take the floor. Although I do not see you. Give a few seconds. I don't see Habacuc. When he does come in, we'll hear from him. We'll move to the next person on the schedule. Is a young lady, an attorney from DC. She's one to be feared. Don't play with her. She is a district attorney, and she represents pretty high level in the DC area. I'm glad to present to you Aurelie Matthieu, a young leader in the DC area. Aurelie?
Thank you, Albert, for having me. Like you mentioned earlier, we've also been victims in the Haitian-American community of police violence. We're not immune. This is our fight too. Albert mentioned Abner Louima earlier. It is our time to change the narrative. It is our time to be active in the community. And it starts at home. It starts with your local elected leaders. It starts with your state elected leaders. It starts with you advocating on issues that matter to you. It starts with doing your research when an election comes around, a primary. We shouldn't just focus on the federal elections. That's not what really affects us at the bottom line. When it comes to unemployment benefits, the way you're treated with healthcare, with local resources, it comes from your state and local leaders, and we need to keep them accountable. You need to call them when you have an issue. You need to hear what their positions are on issues and bring awareness to how we can change and bring solutions to our communities. It's also important with this new election that we gather our communities to go vote. Michelle Obama mentioned that what really frustrated her wasn't the people who voted for Trump during the last presidential election. She was most bothered by the people who stayed silent and who didn't go vote. Those are the people who are to blame for where we are today. The people who felt like their voice was not important and it didn't matter how it would affect their fellow citizens. It's important that we call our families, our friends, making sure that they're registered to vote. On election day, drive around your community, give people rides to the polls. If your state has mail-in ballot system, encourage your community and your folks to vote early, because at the end of the day, it might be difficult to stand in line for 2 hours like we've seen. Voter oppression is real. We must make sure that we're active and we're doing our part both at the federal and local level. Thank you. You're on mute, Albert.
Keep forgetting. Thank you. So thank you, Aurelie, for these words and advice that we need to stay engaged. We need to register our people. We need to actually make it and actually cast that vote. And as you said, it's not just the national level, it's also the local level, which is very important. Thank you very much for these words. Thank you. Next, we have Mr. Firmin Backer. Mr. Firmin Backer is the president and CEO of the Haitian Renewal Alliance. He should come with no introduction. Firmin. Firmin, are you there? I know you're there. Firmin? Firmin, we can hear you. Okay, I'm not sure what happened to Firmin. He disappeared. Or you are muted. Here you are, Firmin. We can see you. Can you hear us?
He's just muted.
He's muted.
You're probably muted. Okay, Firmin is having some technical problem. Can you try to solve the problem, Firmin, and then let me know when you're back? Next, we have Evans Grammont. Evans Grammont from North Carolina. Evans Grammont from North Carolina. Not hearing anything from Evans Grammont either at this point. Firmin, are you okay now? I'm gonna go to a little pause here for a quick minute so we can resolve the problems.
chita n'a gardé. Nous c'est tout pour la vie menacée. Faut de chanter ça. Mon compère, oui. Aulo, mon compère, oui. Faut de chanter ça. Aulo, mon compère, oui. Mucho ulo, mucho ulo, mucho ulo, mon compère, oui. For them chanter ça, mon compère, oui. Mon compère, for them chanter. Toi problème dans pays, oui. Fais-nous pas qu'à joindre. Le côté pour nous, tout cas vivre en paix, vrai. Obligé chanter ça. Mon compère,
In the meantime, if you're watching this on Facebook, please share it by creating a watch party. You can find it under Albert Decady or under United Front. Firmin, we are still waiting on you.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you. Give me a second. Okay. All right, we finally have Firmin online. So Firmin, you have the floor.
Hello, everyone. I'm sorry about that. I'm not sure exactly what happened, whether the technical difficulty is on my computer, but now that I'm using my phone so that I can talk. Initially, I started to say that I thank you, Albert, for putting this live Zoom rally together, and thank you, everyone, who had the time to participate. This is an important time in our lives. I've came across the Black Lives Matter movement years ago, but this time it feels different. And what I've been observing, that the talk or the every aspect of the promotion of white supremacy that have been going on for a long time is being talked about now, from religion, social, and politics as well, because we have to understand the mindset, the philosophy, and everything that white people have been doing for a long time in order to show everybody else that they are superior than everyone else. Because if we look at it from a religious perspective, Jesus that we all worship and we all call the Savior, it has been portrayed for a long time as a white European. So when we go to church and we see a depiction of the person that we call a Savior, it does not look like us, it looks like them. And I have used that to compare other religion as well. I've looked at Islam, where that they forbid the depiction of Muhammad, and I think it is for exactly the reason, so that a prophet that is being worshipped should not look like anybody. If you look at Buddhism, I did a search just the other day just to look at what a Buddha looks like. It doesn't look like a European. It doesn't look like, it's just like a depiction of a person that they revere. So even that aspect is being reconsidered right now because of the Black Lives Movement. And now it comes across to something else. People are talking about Confederacy, or the statue of Confederate soldier or general. Let's look at that from a different perspective. How come that a country that has a civil war to protect the Union was fought by some people who wanted to destroy the Union, but now that all they do is to name school after them, to depict the picture, and to name monuments after them. These were the people who tried to destroy the Union because of their beliefs and their philosophy. And I'm looking, this is a really an amazing time where we should not look the conversation as police brutality, as racism, as this and that, but really to enlarge the conversation and to look at all aspects of the promotion of white supremacy that have been plaguing us for a long time. And I think that we as Haitians, if we look at our history, it's like that we fought against the French, but then that we have statue of Bonaparte or statue of French soldier that we fought against that were trying to keep us slaves. But that's not what we did. In fact, I had a conversation with somebody just yesterday, and we said, well, if you look at the Battle of Gettysburg, they also put monument of soldiers of the Confederacy. I said, yeah, but if you look at it, Bataille de Vertières, the people that you have, if you go to Haiti now and see Vertières, the people that you have in the monument are the people who fought for independence, not the people who lost. So if we look at this movement, I think has taken a different tone where every aspect of the promotion of white supremacy is being looked at. And we as Haitians, we've been there and we've done that. And if you look at Haiti itself, we do not have these people as statue or like as name of this name of that. And we really need to take the conversation and really look at all aspects of it. It ought to really to deraciner all these things that we've been taught and really make Black Lives Matter movement a transformative movement.
Thank you very much, Firmin. Thank you. Again, I am on mute. Thank you, Firmin, for these words that you've shared with us. Next, we have a gentleman from North Carolina, Evans Grammont. Evans Grammont, you have the floor. Please unmute yourself.
Great. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. Well, thank you for having me. I think this is a great first start for all of us gathering here today as we continue this movement for Black Lives Matter. So I'm very honored to be part of this group and want to thank you for once again inviting me to be part of this conversation. So here in North Carolina, what I say is that there's, we have a growing population here, Haitian community. Every year there's more, I would say, people that moved into the state with a Haitian background. So it is growing in size. But overwhelmingly, what I would say is that there's really two topics that I want to cover today, what we tend to focus on for the most part. One is, and I'm sure you guys have heard this many times, on voting. And the other one is on changing minds. Okay, so the voting part, I think we've heard many times before, the importance of voting. So I want to reemphasize that again. Voting is very important to make sure that we focus on what matters to the Black Lives Matter movement. But beyond voting, what we want to stress a lot within our communities is to not only vote in the general election, but to also focus on local opportunities we have to make our voices heard. So if, for example, there's a school board that's having an election to nominate school board members, you need to make sure you're a part of that. If there's an election for a local sheriff, election for local representatives, election for a local district attorney, all of those matter in terms of making our livelihood reflect the way we want to raise our children and the way we want our neighbors to be treated just like us equally as well. So these local elections are critically important. And too often within the Black community, we tend to galvanize and energize ourselves during the general election. And we need to make an effort to change that. So as much as we can within the Haitian-American community and and broadly within the Black community in general, to make a concerted effort to make sure going forward, we make sure our voices are heard in all elections, whether it is a national election or local, city, or school board. And the second point is on changing minds. So the one piece, sorry, make sure I'm not, sorry about that. I want to make sure I'm not losing connection here. Yeah. So around changing minds, the important topics of this is to making sure that, as you know, during the Black Lives Matter movement, there's been some that have used it as an opportunity to distract and to take away the focus around this being a human issue and not a political issue. So I think we've all heard the responses that sometimes we hear that, what about all lives matter? What about blue lives matter? So it's upon us, I think, to try as best as we can to change minds in a positive way, to reinforce the notion that when we say Black Lives Matter, it's not taking away the value of other lives. It's basically stating that too often within this society, within America, that Black lives have shown to be treated lesser than other lives. So as a result of that, that's why we're emphasizing Black Lives Matter. And I think we all are in agreement with that. And we just need to make a concerted effort to help change minds to that aspect. So what I mean by that is, if you live in a neighborhood and you have your neighbor who doesn't have a similar viewpoint as you do, it may be worthwhile if you have the opportunity to develop conversation with that person. If you have that relationship, sometimes it helps to have difficult conversations in a respectable manner and just share your point of views, help them understand what is meant by Black Lives Matter. And if you go to church, if you have your friends' parents from your schools, from soccer teams, from football team, basketball teams, just at times when it's feasible, obviously, if you have that relationship with that individual, do as much as you can to help change minds within the society that you live in, because that's how we're going to make a difference. Because if we only talk to people who look like us, who think like us, it's going to be hard for us to make the changes that we need to do. So it's important for us to do as much as we can to change minds and to help people understand the importance of us rallying together as one people to make a difference where everybody is treated equally. Okay. So those are really the 2 points that I wanted to address. I know we are limited in time, but once again, I wanted to say thank you and look forward to hearing what others have to say.
Thank you very much. Vanel from New York. Mr. Vanel, Clyde, how are you?
Albert, thank you for having me. I'm really excited by being here on this forum. I had some technical difficulties earlier. I'd like to thank the United Front for the Haitian diaspora for putting this together. Don't underestimate the job of the organizer, the job of the person and the people and the group to get us together. And it's an amazing thing to have Haitians from across the country, from across the world, getting together talking about this. I'm gonna talk about 3 things. I'm gonna talk about voting, census, and economics. Before I get into that, Black, African-American, Haitian descent. When the cops are there, when people are looking at you, they don't know if you're Haitian. They don't ask if you're Haitian, if you're Trinidadian, if you're what have you. We're here, we're Black, and we're in this country. So what is the duty? What is the duty of the Haitian American, that's here in this country? And we have a strong duty, and we have a strong duty for Haitian Americans and being part of this movement. And this movement creates an opportunity. It's not just about police reform. It's not just about criminal justice or what have you. As many people said, now we can rethink and relook at, reimagine where we are in this country, where we are in this world, and this movement is taking the world by storm. So we should take full advantage of this moment as Haitian Americans and as Americans here in this country. In New York, I am a New York State lawmaker, and we have a caucus of 5 assembly members. And it's very important for us to even be in that position. That means that many of us had to vote in order to be that. We have Mikhail Solage, who next year will chair the Black, Latino, Puerto Rican caucus in New York for all of New York State. We have a Rodney's Bichat, who is the chair of the Democrats of the largest county in the country, in Kings County. We have Kimberly Jean-Pierre, we have Mathilde Frontis. In New York, we just passed a package of police reform bills. And because we were there, because I was there, we were able to make real change and really affect what bills go in and how they're passed. I myself just went through an election. Kings County's in Brooklyn, in case people don't know. I'm out of Queens. I'm out of New York. We're all out of New York. Kings County's in Brooklyn. But I myself just went through a relatively difficult election. And the reason why I made it through is because we voted, which is very important. But let me talk about economics. Very important. That we must talk about this more and we must focus on economics. It is a shame that the people that are running for Democratic office, running to be the Democratic nominee for president, when all 27 of them knew one fact. They all knew the fact that African Americans and Black people in this country were worth the least out of all groups. That's a shame. It's a shame that in 2040, it's projected for us to be worth less. We must focus on our economics. It doesn't make sense if the entire fight is for police officers to treat us better while we're still at the bottom. We must focus on an economic agenda. What do we do now? How do we do that? Number one, with respect to this pandemic, many people are afraid to go back to work. In New York, I have a list of over 200 jobs and opportunities that are happening now. We must try to get those jobs first. Businesses, we must open up businesses. There are a lot of coronavirus and pandemic-related new businesses that we should look into. The diaspora should also look into how do we bolster up our economics? How do we make sure that wherever we are, whether we're employees, we can scale up. Whether we're businesses, we scale up our businesses. Voting is very important. We must make sure we vote, as other people said, in all elections. We must be a voting group. We must have a strong voting bloc. And we must work to make sure that the Haitians, or wherever you are, has a strong voting bloc. Census. Please fill out the census. The census is happening right now. Go to my 2020.
Professor, my teacher. The reason why I'm saying that is because we coming from Lazille, Haiti. Lazille, Haiti is in Department of NIP. As we were growing up, we have that sense of identity. We looked up to our ancestors. Once Haiti became independent in 1804, our president is Black, our engineer is Black, our doctor is Black, our lawyer is Black. So we had that sense of identity, and nobody could tell us we could not become an engineer, or we could not become president, we could not become a lawyer. And that sense of identity is what also helped us in this country. If I can come from that little village, working 2-3 jobs, becoming a lawyer here. So we have paved the road for the generations to come. It is a pride for us as Haitian American to say, yes, our lives matters. Our ancestors knew that their life mattered, and that's why they chased the colonialists, even though they never really left, because the colonialists made sure that they reaped all the benefit, that they exploited all the resources that our country had between France and the United States. They took all the resources that Haiti had. All we had left was our sense of identity. And this is what has helped us to get this far. Mahatma Gandhi said, be the change that you want to see. So the change that we want to see is for our children to go the next step. We as immigrants came here, worked very, very hard to pave the road for our children. We could not make it that far because of all those obstacles that we had to overcome as first generation immigrants. Nobody works hard or harder than the immigrants. So what I say is that we are proud to see, despite all these odds, that we have engineers, we have lawyers, we have judges. When I look at your panel, we have politicians. It is a pride for us. But what we want to say together is that we matter, our life matters, our children's life. When we're talking about Black lives, we're talking about our children. Our children. It's not other. We're not talking about other lives. We're talking our lives. All of us, the people of color. And it's important for us, Haitian-American, to know, or Haitians to know, when we're talking about Black Lives Matters, we're talking about the lives of our children, the future of our children. So what do we see as changes? What do we want to see? We want our children to be the next lawyers, the next judges, the next all the lawmakers, the next president. Why not? We were not born here. Albert and I, we cannot become president of this country because we were not born here. But our children.
Please put yourself on mute if you're not speaking. Thank you very much. Marylin Toussaint from Chicago, are you online? Please unmute yourself. Okay, having not heard from Marylin Toussaint, the next speaker is a young man from one that I know very well. Sebastian Decady, my own son, is the next speaker. So Sebastian, please take the floor.
Hello, thank you for this opportunity. Bonsoir tout le monde, je m'appelle Sebastian Decady, ça passe. I attend Urbana High School as a rising junior, and I would like to say how proud I am to be Black and partake in an event promoting the growth and awareness of the Black Lives Matter movement. With that said, these past few months for us Haitian Americans have been both a nightmare and dream, as it portrayed the unexplainable police brutality against our color, and it also showed the powerful grit we have as Black, as a collective unit, to be able to protest in America despite the ongoing pandemic. And to that, I put my right fist up and I say, Black Lives Matter. As a young Haitian American, when I was presented with the question of what could young people do to help / improve the Black Lives Matter movement, the answer to me at first wasn't crystal clear, as a multitude of ideas sprung throughout my head. But amidst this quarantine, that answer became crystal clear: social media. Social media like Instagram, TikTok, Snapchat, Twitter, Reddit, Discord, etc., is something that our generation has become extremely adept to using. By using our social media presence to gain the attention of our schools, our communities, our state and national legislature, we can bring change upon America, one post at a time, one share at a time, one hashtag at a time. We can also make an impact by donating to the Black Lives Matter Foundation directly, or sharing the Black Lives Matter Foundation donation link in our social media profile. Despite my inability to vote and create a political change, I will continue to be engaged in the Black Lives Matter movement through my social media. So in the future, my kids won't have to face the same racism and oppression I'm facing. The task of stopping racism is monumental, and it starts with us, the youth. And if there's anything I've learned in the past few months, it's that united, we can make an everlasting change in America. Now I ask, what are you doing for the Black Lives Matter movement, and what could you do better? Haitian-American. Thank you for your time. Merci pour votre temps.
Thank you, Sebastian. Thank you very much for these words and your activity in Urbana and fighting for your own rights. Thank you, son. The next, we go into Connecticut. We have a young man, I'm gonna call him a young man, who's been very active, runs an organization called Haiti Lumière de Demain. And Louis Elneus. Louis, you have the floor. Chris, there may be some people waiting on the room. Please enter them since you're the host now. Louis Elneus, are you there? Okay, I'm not hearing Louis, so when he does come back, let me see if Marylin Toussaint is in. Marylin, are you in?
Yes, I'm finally in, yes. How are you?
Awesome, awesome. I'm sorry if there were any problems. So again, another esteemed attorney from Chicago. She is the executive director of I
can help you out. I can help you out.
Yes, thank you, thank you. The Congress, Haitian Congress.
Hello, everyone. My name is Marylin Toussaint. I'm an attorney in Chicago. Professionally, I've been an assistant public defender, so I do criminal defense work for the past 27 years. And I'm currently the president of the Haitian Congress to Fortify Haiti.
So yes, please share your speech now.
Oh, okay. Wow, I didn't know I was on. Well, I don't necessarily have a speech, but I do believe that the Black Lives Matter movement is something that we are experiencing, and it's really time for it. I think it's very timely because for so long, people of color, especially of African descent, we have suffered in so many ways. And I'll speak from the criminal justice system, since this is where my expertise lies, is that if you look at the laws and the legislation in criminal justice reform, there have been some, but for the most part, the people who suffer the most from the criminal justice system are people of color, people who look like us. And as a criminal defense attorney, I can tell you that more than 80% of the incarcerated people are Black males. And that's not by accident. That's purposeful, based on so many reasons. And mostly it's the laws. You have, the laws regarding crack cocaine and powder cocaine. You have the reform in the Sentencing Act that allows, higher sentences for drug offenses from the war on drugs, and so on and so forth. So I think that as Afro-Caribbeans, we really need to be cognizant and know that we must stand by our brothers and sisters. We are no different from them. When we walk into a room, we are Black people, period. And even if we didn't look Black, we are still Black people. And so as this movement continues, we need to do what we can to support it, to participate in it, to contribute to it. I'm hoping that these last months during the COVID, I call it the COVID era, that we really had time to look to see what's really been happening to our brothers and sisters. As someone who is in the front lines, who sees it daily, I think sometimes people become detached and they think, well, that's them, that's not me, and this hasn't happened to me, and I don't necessarily know anybody has happened to. But I can say that, if you are a Black person, there's somebody you may not know that it has happened to. And so the protests, the calling for change, the demanding that they change the legislation, for the demand for justice, we need to contribute to continue to fight for that. Because it is, we have children who will grow up in the United States who have really, besides us, no attachment to Haiti. And even if we didn't, we live here, we contribute here, our tax dollars go here, we attend school here. So we have to continue the good fight. I'm not going to speak for too long because I don't know how much time I had. So I thank you for inviting me today. I really appreciate speaking to everyone on the call. And I thank everybody for taking the time to actually join the rally on this Sunday afternoon. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Marylin. Sorry if you did not get the communications, but we did send all the communication with the details. Next person, if Louis Elneus is on, we're going to Louis Elneus. Louis, are you on?
Oui, allô, bonsoir.
Allez-y, Louis.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Kisoulina. Donc, félicitations à Tonia Decady et toute équipe staff et Haitian Front pour belle réunion ça. Donc, je pense que c'est très, très, très important that, you know, we are engaged ourselves in this movement. When you consider driving down the street, the police do not recognize, you know, you're particularly Haitian, Jamaican, or Trinidadian or St. Lucians. They just see a black person. And as so many speakers before me have said, that it is time we get engaged politically. And it is not just a political fight. It is not just police brutality. It's economic brutality or economic seclusion. It's social seclusion. Also, we participate actively in the education system. A perfect example, Princeton University has decided that they will remove the name Woodrow Wilson to its School of Foreign Policy. But you know, if we can imagine what Woodrow Wilson's policies were towards Haiti, and that's when he invaded Haiti, and we should be a part of the conversation, not just, you know, what he did as a racist president of Princeton University or president of the United States, but internationally, what was his political views towards blacks? And we are a direct victim of his racist policies. So it is to say we can't just, you know, focus. Unfortunately, we bear those three responsibilities, you know, living in this country, and we have international responsibilities, and also we have responsibility towards the homeland. We can't just fight here. We have to fight the racism that's going on there too, especially if you think at this moment how the UN creates this Bureau on Haiti. They're dictating what policies Haiti should push forward instead of Haitians making for Haiti. So I think it is important, and I hope this will not be the first or the last meeting that we have of this sort. It should be a continuing effort, and we know it takes a whole lot to put together things like this. And I hope we can donate times to Haitian Front to conduct those meetings even on a monthly basis. And we need to get organized, like I said, and we need to participate here in Connecticut. That's what we're trying to do, join forces with other local organizations that are fighting racism, be it, you know, Hispanic organizations, the NAACP, and all these other organizations that have been in the forefront of this fight. So it is an honor and opportunity to participate with all of you who are so engaged, and hopefully this will not be our last meeting together, and we will go forward and join the fight and hopefully make a difference. And one last thing, Albert. This is congratulations to you. And we adults cannot win the fight alone. We have to engage the kids. And bravo to you and bravo, Sebastian, for engaging. And I think that's the future. We're not going to win it all by ourselves. And their generations, the Sebastian's generations, the younger kids. And this is why, too, we should get involved in our communities and promote cultures among our kids who are here. So that they know where they come from. They know the tremendous heritage that they are responsible to carry on. Thank you.
Thank you, Louis. Thank you very much. Thank you. Keep up the good work in Connecticut. Next, we have. I wanna tell Commissioner Monestine that I do know he's online, and that I do have 3 people ahead of you. I'm gonna go to the next person, and I'm gonna let you speak because I know you're speaking in a university as the keynote speaker today. So let me go to Tonia Vernet, which is the pillar that the Haitian community in Maryland stand on. Tonia Vernet.
Hello, bonsoir. I want to thank Magalie Backer for inviting me to this meeting. And I just want to remind us that we have been struggling. We as Haitian, we are a people of struggle. We have been struggling as women. We have been struggling for our rights, for respect, and we have been struggling for whole life matters. Like somebody was saying, it's not Haitian or
it seems like we have some connection trouble with Tonia.
Powering off. Into the fight. It's like in Dominican, we are having problems. We have to be engaged into the fight. And thank God Almighty, we are getting organized. Thank you, Maitre Albert, for your support. Thank you, my dear Salim. Thank you to all my Claire Heureuse, Eugenia Charles, and all of us who are on the line. You are our dear Salim. You are, guys, our Claire Heureuse. You are like your son, like Pastor Moise's son, daughters. We are all. We need to be engaged. We need to go and vote. We need to be part of the platform. We have to be really make the struggle a reality for our Haitian kids that are living here. Do not say we are not part of it. We have example of Yvette Jean-Louis killed by the police force in Virginia. We have to go on. La lutte continue. Il faut avancer. Nous allons avancer comme des salines. Et merci beaucoup. Thank you, Maître Albert. Thank you once again. Like the gentleman was saying before, we hope that we'll have more.
Again, it seems like we lost Sister Tonia for her last word, but I think we got pretty much what she was saying. It seems like we're having some connection issue, Chris. I don't know. So we have Tonia, and I'm sorry, I can't hear you. I'm moving on to the next speaker. Sorry about that, you did not get your last word in. So I'm going next to this young man from New Jersey, Junior Philistin Jean. Junior Philistin Jean.
Hello?
Yes, Sister Tonia, we can hear you now. You can finish your statement. No. Junior Philistin Jean from New Jersey.
Hey, good afternoon, everyone. And it is a privilege for me to be on this platform. I'm so grateful to hear so many good things. So I will say thank you to Sebastian Decady, because when I hear Sebastian talking, and we can see that we have hope, because I want to make focus about this, because one thing that we always talking about 1804, that Dessalines to say we know as Haitian how to fight for justice and equality. And Dessalines and Toussaint, they had an opportunity to do not fight, but they said that we don't want our kids, our great kids, to be living in this slavery and poverty. So they had to fight not only for Haiti, but for all Black in general. So what we've been seeing today in police brutality, we have a personal standpoint, a responsibility as individual, as the society, to keep fighting for justice and equality. Not only for that, but we also need to put focus on education. If we look at the data in California, 75% of Black Californian boys don't meet the state reading standard. So we as a Black community, we also need to be engaged on education, on all, as well as voting system. There was a gentleman talking about census. We need to make sure that we get engaged in the state level and the local level, because if we don't do that, we don't know what will happen. So the role of the police is like protect and save, but at the same time, if we don't educate, if we don't have a conversation, a real conversation with the kids, with the society, with the local level, how we can move forward. So my point is that we need to keep forward, we need to work together, and we know how to fight, because Malcolm X said, nobody cannot give you equality, nobody cannot give you freedom, justice. If you are human, you have to take it. We know how to go get it. We also need to keep forward and on standpoint, working together as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Junior Philistin. I know you're doing great work in New Jersey. We do call you to be more active with the United Front and to collaborate with us as well. So many people who come on the line want to thank Albert Decady for what's going on. There's a whole crew behind me. There's Chris, there's a whole board of people, there's a whole executive team that put this together. So I do not want to take all the credit for myself. It is a credit for the United Front that worked so hard to actually put this program together. Next, I want to go to another young lady in Virginia. That is Sorayah Moise. Sorayah Moise.
Yes, hello. My name is Sorayah Moise, and I'm 20 years old. I'm a third-year undergraduate student at the University of Virginia, and I'm pursuing a major in sociology while on the pre-med track. Sociology, in simple terms, is defined as the study of societies and how humans act in groups. It includes the act of asking why when presented with a certain issue, pattern, or simple human interaction. As someone who has been studying sociology for almost 3 years now, I feel like I can take a more educated stance on what I believe regarding police brutality and the fight for justice in the Black community. First and foremost, I most definitely believe that my life as a Black Haitian-American woman matters, and that all my Black brothers and sisters' lives matter. I would like to take the rest of my speaking time to reflect on a conversation that I had with someone who tried to start a debate, asking me, well, what about Black on Black crime? While I was discussing how people of color are disproportionately killed more by police than white people are. I replied to them by saying that we are discussing racism, and Black people do not just kill each other solely because they are Black. Secondly, if you were to compare white and Black neighborhoods with similar income levels, you will find that there are similar rates of crime. But systemic economic inequality is a factor that many people forget. So if you use comparisons that put together both wealthy and upper income class neighborhoods that are predominantly white and middle to low income neighborhoods that predominantly have more people of color, it skews the data. Poor people commit more crimes because economic insecurity leads to those crimes. It just so happens that Black people are still at an economic disadvantage because of the enduring consequences of America's racism throughout history. Thanks to my sociological background, I was able to step out of the problem presented and ask the question of why. I believe that will be the key first step into seeing change in our country. If we as people, as Haitians, as the human race, step out of our biases and ask why, it will then lead us to be able to find a solution to the problem. The one most important thing that I would like to say here before I finish is directed toward my generation. We cannot be silent. We must use our voices as we are in fact the future. Go vote. Sign petitions, call out your racist friends and family members, support Black businesses. Supporting Black businesses does so many amazing things, including closing the racial wealth gap, strengthening local economies, fostering job creation, and holding other companies accountable. While this may not be the easiest endeavor, there is power in numbers, and I am confident that if we combat this together, we will definitely see results. Enough is enough, and it is our duty to take action. Thank you so much to Albert and everybody who allowed me to have the opportunity to speak to you today, and I hope you all have a blessed day.
Thank you, Sorayah. Thank you very much for these words. So again, continue to share this live. Taking a little music break as we cue in the esteemed Commissioner John Monestein from Florida. Commissioner Monestein. You can unmute yourself. I will stop the music once I see you. We have Commissioner Monestein from Florida joining us today. Thank you, Commissioner, because I know your schedule was pretty pressed today, and you still said yes to this event. So the whole United Front thanks you for your presence here today. We don't have video though.
Let me see what's going on here, Albert. Can you see me now?
Yes.
Okay, very good. Well, first, let me say thank you to you and to the board members of the United Front for this invitation and for engaging in this conversation. I must say I missed the opportunity to hear Sebastian speak, since I've heard a number of people mention him, but let me confess that I just got schooled by Sorayah, and we can say that indeed our future is in good hands. So as in light of the conversation taking place since the death of George Floyd, which I think we all condemn and are on right, we come to this conversation with a sense of concern, but nevertheless, I think as Haitian Americans and as Haitian period, we also need to approach this conversation with a sense of responsibility. And I say with a sense of responsibility, considering that Haiti and Haitians give birth to democracy, give birth to freedom to the world. And I often refer to the fact that the United States Emancipation Declaration didn't take place until 1859, I believe, nearly 63 years after the independence of Haiti. Definitely 63 years after La Bataille de Vertières. So, which brings the understanding as to why this country, though we've struggled with the issue of class politics in Haiti, but which brings the understanding as to why the United States of America and the rest of the world are still struggling with the issue of racism. Systemic racism in the United States have had a negative impact, I would say, on almost all of us, including, if not all of us, many of us on this call. As a Black man and as an immigrant living in this country for the last 40 years, I've felt the brunt of racism and discrimination throughout all my endeavors, including serving as a county commissioner. So what that tells us in regard to this moment and this situation, truly I feel from the depth of my heart and my soul that this is an opportunity for Haitian Americans to lead. It is an opportunity to lead. It's not an opportunity to be on the sideline. It is an opportunity to be in the front line to address this issue, because our perspective on the issue of racism and the issue of of people not being free to perform their duties, to fully live their life, is what was at the core of the Haitian Revolution. And we do come to this with a sense of pride, as I said, but we also must feel the responsibility, as we did early on in working with countries like Greece, with the state of Israel, with Latin America, under the leadership of our predecessors, to free the rest of the world. And there are accounts as to how many leaders throughout the world, every now and then, pay tribute to Haiti's contribution to their plight to freedom. So we need to accept this sense of responsibility that this cause is currently placed on our shoulder. For those of us in the legislative arena in government, we must continue to legislate in order to make sure our people see better days. For those of us who are just demonstrating in the street, we need to do this very tactfully but peacefully. And I say peacefully because for the last 50 years, for the last 70 years, we've seen so many demonstrations as to how civil disobedience and peaceful demonstration have contributed to the betterment of the world. Otherwise, we wouldn't be talking today about the like of Mahatma Gandhi and also Dr. King and many others that have contributed to our rights here in the United States, especially since the civil rights movement. So I say to do so peacefully because the leaders don't always react to what's happening in their life. Leaders usually organize, plan, strategize, and execute. So we need to organize, plan, strategize, and execute. If we do so, we will not be reacting emotionally to what happened out there. We will be effective in our demeanor and our endeavor as well, so that we can truly see the fruit of our labor and help our children and grandchildren benefit from the fruit of that labor. For we need to always be reminded as change architect, as change makers, that we are indeed leaders in what we do. And to do it right, we must be reminded that peace truly is more powerful than aggression. The power of peace is stronger than the power of aggression. We must also be reminded that the power of love is stronger than the power of hate. You know, in demonstrating peacefully and protesting peacefully and with love in our heart, with a sense of community building or community construction, if we approach it this way, we'll always put things in perspective. We will always put things in their right place. And we will not follow, the act of those on the path of those who destroy their communities, who burn businesses. Look, there is a time and place for everything, because we know some of our ancestors use, all the tools at their disposal. But I think in this environment where we currently are right now, we need to use the power of love, the power of a strong spirit, the power of a strong leadership. We need to use as well the power of interdependence, aligning ourselves as leaders with other groups that are strong. But in order to join this group, what we have to do as well is making sure that we are strong among us. Let's support one another, support the United Front, support the other agencies and organizations in your communities. Make sure that when they ask for a contribution, if you don't have a lot of money, whatever you have, you bring it to the table anyway. Bring your talent, bring resources, whatever kind of resources you have. Let's strengthen our community, because we need to approach this movement from a position of strength, okay? If we are strong, other strong organizations will reach out to us. And if we are strong, when we reach out to other strong organizations, they will not deny us the partnership. They will work with us. Sir, as Sorayah stated earlier, we need to join a cause. If you're not a citizen, help register people who are United States citizens to vote. If you are a citizen, register yourself to vote and make sure you go to the polls. If you cannot go to the polls, but you are earning a living or you are an entrepreneur, contribute to a cause. Give some money, give some time. And will that, as we work together, I promise you, we will succeed together. Thank you very much for allowing me to partake in such a wonderful movement and a wonderful discussion. And I'm a soldier in your army, United Front. Albert, reach out to me and call on me anytime, and I'll be there to serve. Thank you so much.
Commissioner. Thank you, Commissioner Menestein. So if we've been having trouble with Facebook, the link keeps on, and we keep losing the stream. So if you were sharing on Facebook, so please go do it again, because we just lost the stream, and please redo it again. Let everybody know about this event. So the next speaker is a young man who've left the United States to actually go and start business in Haiti. Without further ado, we are running a little bit way behind on time. I want to apologize to Representative Daddy Joseph, who was supposed to be on right now, but I want to go to a few people in between. I hope that you will indulge us as we are running a little bit behind time. Haitian, sorry about that. We go to Chirs Jeanty. Chris.
Hey everyone, back at it again, as the catchphrase goes. I want to thank everyone who has taken time out to participate. It's really important that we talk about these issues, no matter what our focuses are. As Albert mentioned, I am living in Haiti. I am working on improving the quality of life of our Haitian brothers and sisters on the island, but still, nous sommes seul monde, and with 80% of some of our more productive, educated folks living abroad, it's really important that we make an effort to ensure that we are, wherever we are, we're participating in the struggle that will help not only just us, but the folks who look like us and are trying to do the very same thing, right? For sure, I want to make it very clear, and one of the biggest things I always hear amongst my generation is, what are we doing as a group in the diaspora to advance not only our interests, but the interests in general, and like what the Haitian diaspora isn't organized. When I hear that, I usually ask, have you done a Google search for any group doing anything? What have you done to try to engage and impact, right? And usually, well, I haven't really, but I don't see none. Nah, it's on you, man. You gotta make that effort, because there's organizations like United Front, like many others, that are working very hard to advance the betterment of Haitian people and also Black people specifically, right? When it comes to Black Lives Matter, I want to make something very, very clear. It's important that we take the streets. It's important that we vent our frustrations. It's important that we vote. It's important that we engage on all levels. It's not just the president. It's our mayor. It's our city councilman. It's our alderman if we're in Chicago. It's that local level. We have to make sure we engage and understand really at the level that matters directly. It's very close. It's as close to that. It's our representative, it's our senator. That has to be clear, right? But the most important thing, no matter what level of engagement you are, it's so crucial and critical how you spend your money. It's just that simple, right? How you spend your dollars is probably the most powerful activist act you can do. Going out your way, inconveniencing yourself, and going out your way to spend your money at a Black establishment, at a Haitian establishment, at a Black business, Black product, Haitian business. The more you can inconvenience yourself and go out your way to make sure your dollar is being spent in our community, that is the most revolutionary act you can do every day. It's not just, oh, well, it's Saturday, I don't have nothing else going on. I'll do a picket sign. I'll go take the streets. I'll go march. Every single day you have the capacity to usurp the white supremacist system that we're a part of, specifically, mainly, primarily by your participation in the economic system, right? And so please, that's where I want to end it. I really want to make sure you guys understand that our power, our long-lasting multi-generation power lies specifically in how we spend our money. So make sure we go out our way, we support those who are us, who look like us. Okay? And that's where I'm at. Thanks so much, Albert.
Thank you, Chris, and thank you for the work that you do in the background for us. Chris is our communication person. He's the one making sure that we are online and making sure that we are live on Facebook and other social media. Thank you, Chris, for what you do. The next young lady is another activist and singer and very active in the Massachusetts area. We welcome Rebecca Noelle. Before Rebecca, I wanna apologize. I mentioned I apologize to Daddy Joseph, but I should really apologize to everybody who's in the queue that's been waiting. So I know your time is precious. The reason I said Daddy Joseph is because that I know she was pretty pressed on time and wanted to have a specific time. But I do apologize to everyone who's waiting in the queue. So we're trying to get there. Rebecca?
Hello, first I want to say thank you so much for organizing such a beautiful event. Nothing makes me happier than seeing Black voices coming together to speak about all the ways that we can push forward as a community. To keep it brief, I think there's just two things that I really want to touch upon. First is, despite what the media might show, it has been refreshing to see that throughout the world, on a daily basis, people are coming together to march for Black lives. And we're not getting as much media and press as possible as there should be, but it is beautiful to see it. So don't think that because it's not on your timelines that it's not still happening. And with that, if any way that we're able to promote what is happening, whether that be marching with other people, whether it be donating to bail funds, whether it be just spreading information at a time like this, information is wealth, information is absolutely everything. So I encourage all of you to find all of the ways possible to be a voice and to be an ally and to use your platform. I believe in using your platform, no matter how big or small it is, to promote things that are going on. It takes a village, and what we're asking for are things that we have been fighting for generations. And I have a lot of hope for the future, but it only happens when we all stick together and we keep marching. And with that, I also do want to raise a point that even within ourselves as a community, we can look to ways to dismantle the parts of white supremacy that have seeped into our own community. So that's addressing things like colorism. It's addressing things like sexism as well. It is a movement. Black Lives Matter is a movement in which we're trying to dismantle white supremacy. And we also have to acknowledge the way that it impacts the way that we interact with one another. And so have those conversations as well within your own group, just to see what are all the ways that we can make sure that we are supporting our Black brothers and sisters, no matter who they are, what they do, but supporting them, amplifying their voices and being there to protect them and to guide them as well, because it is just as important to look within ourselves as to fight what's happening on the outside as well. My final thing is there are so many Black entrepreneurs and Black businesses that need our support. And I think a lot of times people, when they think of Black business, they think of cheaper or discount. But the same way that you have no problem spending $35 on a product for a white-owned business, you should keep that same energy for a Black-owned business as well. It is supporting our own community, uplifting our own community, and that means supporting Black creatives, Black entrepreneurs, Black businesses. You know, I'm in Boston, and I'm thankful to have such an amazing hub of Black businesses that are there to support. So do your research, see ways that you can support Black people in our community who are offering services and offering goods that we can support as well, because it is also taking our community and taking an active voice and making sure, active voice and actions and making sure that we're pushing forward as well and supporting our own. Because if we don't do it, who will? And we also have to lead by example as well. So with that, I just want to say thank you to everyone who's been raising such amazing points, and I look forward to seeing what happens in the world. And I choose to remain positive because I think that there's a lot of beautiful things that can happen in this world if we just stick together and keep fighting. Thank you.
Thank you, Rebecca Noelle. Thank you very much. While we cue Johnny Celestin, I'm gonna just blast a little bit of music. Johnny, whenever you're ready.
Well, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Awesome.
Wonderful. Well, Good
Thank
afternoon.
You, Johnny is currently one of the hosts of the Mojo Show.
Thank
So,
you. Thank you.
Leader in the New York area.
Thank you very much, and a member of the Haitian United Front. Well, good afternoon, everybody. It's really a pleasure for me to be here. I am absolutely honored and humbled to be among you, and I've been listening to everybody. And I feel really fortunate to be living in these special times. They are times of turbulence, but also times of great opportunity. We all come together today to say that Black Lives Matter and to remember people like Philando Castilla, who was murdered in front of his children. We want to remember Breonna Taylor, who still hasn't had justice because his killers are still walking the street. They killed her in her bedroom while she was sleeping. We're here to also remember George Floyd, who was suffocated in front of all of us in public. But I have to say that we also hear when we say Black Lives Matter, that we not only care about Black lives here in America, but also Black lives in Haiti and everywhere else. And so when I think about Black Lives Matter, I also think about more recently, a couple of days ago, the two young dancers, Nancy and Sebastian, who were killed and burned, viciously killed and burnt. And I also think about the many innocent lives that we're losing in Haiti. So to understand Black Lives Matter, I think it is, for me, about reimagining a world that is about anti-Blackness everywhere, not just here in America, but anti-Blackness everywhere, but particularly here in America as well as in Haiti. It is also, as others have mentioned before, when we say Black Lives Matter, it's important that we think of it in terms of social, economic, and political power, both here and in Haiti. So to keep it short, I will close with just three suggestions, and very humbly make these three suggestions that others have alluded to before. Number one, I would like to humbly suggest that folks really step up and in this time and join an organization. It could be the United Front, but it could be any other organizations that are focused on issues that are pushing the Black agenda forward. Number two, I would say that as a community, it is important for us to build alliances. Those alliances have to be built with African-American community, the Latino community, the Asian-American community, and also with white allies, because we cannot do this on our own. We need to build bridges. We need to develop alliances. And finally, as others have said, you need to walk the talk. You need to put your money where your mouth is. You need to put your effort, your smart, your intelligence, where your passion is, where your heart is. And so I will end here, and I say thank you very much to the United Front, to all the members, and to all of you who are here, and I appreciated the opportunity. Have a good one.
Thank you, Johnny. And while Johnny mentioned that he is a member, I do want to put a little spot here that you can become a member of the United Front by going to www.haitianunitedfront.org, www.haitianunitedfront.org, and please join us and become a member, and let's fight together. Next, the fight is not just in the United States. The fight is everywhere. As we have Chris from Haiti, we also have now Derick Laguerre, who is an activist in Canada. Derick.
Hi, everyone. I would like to thank the board and everyone who's here for allowing me to speak and also to listen. There are three main points that I wanted to bring forward. The first one being solidarity. I believe Nunotte, she mentioned it before. So I've lived in the US and Canada and in Haiti. What I found was that Black people are oppressed wherever they are and whatever origins they have. So from Africa, from the Caribbean, etc. And why I say solidarity, it's because everywhere I've also seen that we tend to differentiate one from another. We fight as Asian, but not as Asians, but not as Black people or as minorities. So I wanted to bring this forward, and so that there is solidarity between us Black men and women in the West, but also bring a Haitian touch to it, because as it has been said, Haiti is, well, one of the reasons why we have rights, one of the reasons why we're free. But the thing is, even throughout all of those years, we're still oppressed. We're not free entirely. We're still being dehumanized. We're still being killed. So these are stuff that we need to tackle. So why I say the Haitian history is because, as it has been stated, we helped different other countries from Latin America, from Europe, and the US as well. I believe that if we bring this forward, because we've always been silent, they've always made us stay silent in regards to our history, what we've accomplished and what have you. I believe this would be the time for us to speak up, because it's notre histoire, c'est une histoire qui est inspirante. And whenever we tell what happened, there are a lot of people who can be inspired by it and want change. So we have a responsibility as Haitians to speak our story, to try to make people understand that just having the right to live is not enough. We also need the right to not have the right to be alive, but the right to live, the right to enjoy your life, to not be dehumanized, to not be guilty before even seeing a jury, and the right to speak up on the oppressions that are being done to us, basically. The second point that I would like to bring forward is, what are we gonna do? What is our nos plans? C'est quoi nos plans, en fait? What I mean by that, there are different ways for us to act. It could be boycotting the economy. It could be investing in our communities. It could be investing in our Black owners. But also, why I was saying solidarity is because if we have ce sentiment d'appartenance, ce sentiment que chacun on est des frères, c'est pas un Haïtien, pas un Africain, on est tous des frères. If we have ce sentiment-là, I believe that we're capable of accomplishing great things. So,
Eric?
Yep.
Speed it up a bit, please.
Yes. So those are the two main points that I wanted to bring forward. So the first one being solidarity, the second one being how are we going to do it? So politically, we have to have une voix unie, not necessarily uniform, but we need to have a certain power to be able to dictate the legislations that are being brought forward, et cetera, et cetera. So yes, that was the two main points that I had to bring forward.
Thank you very much, Derick, to bring the voice of Canada, the Haitian community from Canada in this mix. Obviously, we want to work with you guys. It doesn't matter where you're at. The fight is worldwide. Yeah. I'm gonna skip the schedule for a little bit because Saurel Quettan needs to go, and he has a class that he's teaching at 4. So Saurel, please take the floor. Saurel? Saurel Quettan? He may have already left to start his program. If he does come back, I will go to him. Going to Eugenia Charles. Eugenia Charles, we are behind on time, so please be succinct. Eugenia Charles from DC.
Yes, I'm trying to get the video to show up. Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you so much for having me, and thank you for organizing this wonderful event Well, thank you to all the members of the United Front. But I think a lot of people have already covered a lot of issues. In moving forward, what I think it's important for us to do as a community is we talk about education, but what type of education? I believe we all are parents, and I want to congratulate your son, Sebastian, for doing such a wonderful job. Our children may be attending different institutions, but when they come to our household, what we teach them, what we expose them to is what's going to guide them where they go, what they do when they are out there. So I think as parents, and as members of this community, we need to take the responsibility on educating our children through African-centered materials so they can identify themselves with their society, with their community. We need to work to solve some of the disparities we have within the Haitian community. In terms of, we talk about voting, we talk about the census. I think in the United States as a community, there's a lot of isolation within ourselves. We need to work to bridge some of these isolations, because if we do not pull it together, we cannot make an impact. We can go out and vote a candidate. After you vote that person, what do? We need to stay united. We need to stay proactive. Whether it's on immigration issue, we have a lot of challenges, but sometimes our members don't always come out to support the cause to take it to the next level. So we have to be very proactive in keeping forward with those challenges that we are facing. I think our founding father, Dessalines, put this word forward for us by saying that every person who's a slave who stepped foot on Haiti become a free individual. That was a challenge to us from the very beginning. That was a challenge to say that we Haitians has a responsibility and a greater role to play in supporting the Black race, in taking this Black Lives Matter movement forward, because very early on, he told us that we as Black people, we are important and our lives matters. So I think from the economic perspectives, we need to support our Haitian business, but we also need to put structures together that teach our Haitian businesses how to provide quality customer services so we can keep our businesses open, so we can treat our customers better in moving forward. Encourage our children to read folks like Antenor Firmin, Benito Sylvain, who've done great work in Pan-Africanism and also the human race. I thank you, Albert, and all the United Front members for all the great things you have done.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Eugenia. I know you're doing a great job in DC with your radio show, the only radio show in the DC area. So thank you for keeping that up. Next, we go into Charlot Lucien. Please be mindful that we are running short on time, and I do apologize for anyone who's waiting in the queue. I'm trying to get to you as quickly as possible. Please indulge with us. Charlot Lucien. Charlot. Okay, I'm gonna we'll cue Charlot a little bit later again if when we do hear from him. The next person we're gonna hear from is a candidate for a judgeship in Montgomery County, Maryland, Marylin Pierre. Marylin, thank you for your patience. I know you've been here. You were one of the first person who logged in this earlier.
Well, thank you very much. I really appreciate the opportunity that you've given me, and I really enjoyed listening to everyone. I have agreed with so many different things that's been said, but I know we're short on time. As Albert said, I am running for judge in Montgomery County, Maryland. Montgomery County, Maryland is especially a problem because not only do we need the Black Lives Matter movement, but we really actually need to vote for the people who are going to give us what we need to obtain justice. What I mean by that is that Montgomery County, Maryland arrests a higher percentage of the
it seems like we lost sound from Marylin. We'll see if that comes soon. But while we wait for her, I wonder if
as we wait for her, we would like to say that we won the primary in Montgomery County. We're waiting to go into the general. So we won about 102,000 votes. It's like the best for any Haitian ever done in this community. So, but the fight's not over. She's trying to recoup.
Thank you, thank you. Having that, I'm gonna play some music to cue to wait a little bit.
Oh, I don't know what happened. All of a sudden I was disconnected. But anyway, I'll try to make it quick. If anybody would like to help me with my campaign or would like to know more about my campaign, my web address is pierreforjudge.com. So that's pierreforjudge.com. And you could find my email address there if you want to email me, or my telephone number if you want to call or fax me. Again, it's pierreforjudge.com.
You can type it
for
in
your attention.
Please type it in the chat for everyone.
Okay, I will do that. Thank you again, Albert. Great job.
So our next speaker needs a drum roll. So I'm gonna cue a little bit of music as we wait for.
Même la souligne.
One.
Vous entendez?
Oui, nous entendons.
Okay.
Representative Joseph she's also an attorney. She was in the DC area for a while, but now she represents not sure exactly which county in Florida. So
Miami-Dade.
And we apologize for keeping you on the line.
Non, c'est pas grave. Je remercie pour le bon travail que vous avez fait là. Je crois que je fais un petit mélange en anglais à créole parce que créole parler, je souhaite créole comprendre. Everybody has a part to play. You know, when we're talking about Black Lives Matter, movement, whether you're talking about the civil rights movement or the Black Lives Matter movement, you know, we need to have a Martin and you need to have a Malcolm. Sometimes there's a time for peace and sometimes there's a time for war. Et tant qu'Haïtien, t'as souhaité nous comprendre tous les deux, because there's a time for each one of those tools in the strategy. And when we talk about those roles in the struggle for justice and equality, you know, sometimes, you know, some people have a role in the streets, some in detention centers, like Guerline Joseph, you're going to hear about later on in dealing with our immigrant crisis in the Black Lives Matter movement. Some people, like many of the lawyers you've heard on the call, have a role to play in the courtroom, and the judges as well. When we think about what's going on with the cases and whether people get charged, there's prosecutors at play. What the sentences look like and how the cases developed, that has to do with the judges. So think about those things as we go forward. Some people have a role to play in the voting booth, some on the phone, making phone calls for candidates or to encourage people to vote. Some is to educate, not just in the classroom, but in our churches, temples, mosques, and locker rooms, or just with your friends when people say some crazy stuff that shows that there's a white supremacist issue there. Now, let's talk about what the Haitian community can do to support the Black Lives Matter movement. So let me just start by saying that we're all Black. Haitians don't always have to do their own thing, right? Some of us are bicultural and work within the movement already, and we're seamlessly a part of it. Now, if you feel culturally separate and you want to plug, one thing you can do is partner up with groups that are already working on what's going on. And you can partner with what they're doing to plug in and amplify and support worthy efforts. Provide, whether it's supplies to protesters, and those supplies can be anything from water, masks, snacks, hand sanitizer. You know, if you think about putting all of this stuff together, all of those things are needed. When we had several of the civil rights movement struggles that exceeded, you know, and I'll just give you one example. The Montgomery bus boycott lasted for over a year, actually quite a bit longer than that. But there were people there to support the movement, whether it was providing food, providing water, and whatever else that was needed. So be a part of whatever part you can play. So whether it's offering legal assistance to those that may be arrested, and just be a part of that brain trust. So let me tell you a little bit about what I'm doing down here in Florida. So, you know, with the movement, and you see the marches and stuff in the streets, but what is that going to translate to? We are working on making sure that that translates into some real lasting change on the legislative front in terms of budgets, policies, and practices, and things that we can change to eliminate some of these structural and systemic issues that propagate racism within our society, that lead to the Black Lives Matter issues that we see all the time, not just as it relates to police brutality, but across the spectrum. So working with over 40 local organizations, including law enforcement, who've provided input on what they think needs to be done, we're taking those ideas, researching some more, and developing some tangible courses of action for our community and Miami-Dade County and Broward to organize around. And that's going to include everything from legislation at the local, state, and federal level, identifying model policies and practices, and other ways that we can get engaged, like things that we want to push for in these various budgets. So some legislatures meet year round, some like Florida only meet part-time. So we don't meet again until the beginning of next year, really. So in the meantime, there are things that can be happening at the local and federal level. So we're organizing around those. If you're interested in finding out more information, or if you want to participate in that brain trust, in that working group to deal with things that can happen on a federal level, feel free to reach out to me. My website is dottiejoseph.com. Pour les Haïtiens, c'est dottiejoseph.com with just one T-I-E. And I can be happy to plug you in. Now, a couple of people mentioned this, but I wanted to highlight something that Aurelie mentioned earlier, and that is that elections have consequences. She didn't use those words, those are my words, but let me break that down. We have seen all around the United States the voter suppression tactics that are used. They're trying to discourage people from voting. They keep you in line for a long time, and there's much more to come. And if you live in one of those southern states, know that that voter suppression is real. I think we've seen it in Georgia and the spiking COVID numbers thereafter. One easy way to mitigate this is to vote by mail. Find out what your local policy and procedure is to vote by mail, and make sure that you request that ballot so that you can get it. You won't have to deal with any of those voter suppression issues. You don't have to deal with exposing yourself to COVID. Please, please, please vote by mail. If you're in the Miami-Dade County area, I have a webinar on how to do that. Just go to facebook.com/DottieJoseph and then just scroll down in the videos and you'll see it. I have it in English, I have it in Creole, and I have it in Spanish. So tous les trois langues yo, sous besoin yo là. Number two, vote the entire ballot. People have mentioned this on the call, but I really want to emphasize it. It's important for us in the context of this movement and even beyond this movement to elect people who understand and can fight for our issues. At the local level, that means your top law enforcement person. You have a say-so in who that person is. Your local government officials. If you're watching all of the stories, somebody has to fire the cop. Somebody has to decide they're going to discipline the cop. Somebody has to do that. You have a voice in deciding who that person is, because as we've seen, sometimes they pay attention and sometimes they turn a blind eye. We want to make sure that we're electing people who are not going to turn a blind eye. At the state level, each state has latitude to address issues ranging from things like the citizens arrest law, which is what we saw with Ahmaud Arbery in Georgia, to stand your ground laws in Florida. When you have people who understand these issues, it's a whole lot easier. I can tell you that from personal experience at the State House. We are a Republican-dominated legislature, and as a result, there are a lot of things that we cannot do. Now, it's not a Democrat or Republican issue. I think at the end of the day, these are people issues, but sometimes these issues are deemed politically charged, so be mindful of that. At the federal level, the Congressional Black Caucus has been working on quite a few items that we're trying to support and get other people to rally around. As you know, there's a dichotomy between the House and the Senate, and unfortunately that's largely drawn on party lines. Thirdly, once we have these candidates, we need to support them. Avocat Nunotte Zama dit ça, and I'm just gonna reiterate it. You know, we have, for example, in Florida, we have several people running. You just heard from a judicial candidate, Marylin Pierre, and it was great to see her and all my other friends on the call, you know, Albert and all of you guys from DC and like all over that, you know, we've interacted with. But the point is, we have these candidates, so we want to support them. In Florida, I'll highlight two more judges that we have on the ballot. Judge Phoebe Francois in Broward County. So if you have anybody who lives in Miramar, Pembroke Pines, Florida, it's a county-wide race. Please tell them to support her, Judge Phoebe Francois. In Miami-Dade County, we have Olanike Adebayo in Miami-Dade County. So what does that look like? So a lot of the candidates might be shy to tell you this, but I'm going to tell it to you for them because some of them can't tell you legally. But what that support looks like, it can be any number of things, but two easy and very straightforward ways is to give. Give to their candidacy, give to their campaign. She gave her website. Please look her up. You know, these other judges, if you just Google them, Phoebe Francois, Olanike Adebayo, and I can type those in once I'm done speaking. But the point is, we need to support these candidates. I myself am up for re-election. If you want to pitch in, go ahead and pitch in whatever you can. And that's at dottiejoseph.com. Now, Eugenia touched on this, but I want to unpackage what it means. Once we elect these people, it's not just, oh, Noelle, now we have somebody and that's great. No, you stay engaged. You stay civically engaged. When there are issues that come along that we need to advocate for as a community, then we need to make sure that we get the word out. So, you know, connect on social media, see what they're posting about. If it's relevant, share it. And we saw the power of this. I don't know how many people on the call are familiar with what happened with L'Union Suite pushing for and advocating against what was going on with Netflix with a documentary that said that Haitians had AIDS. It was some BS from back in the 80s. So again, we need to continue to stay engaged and shut those foolish things down. Lastly, I want to talk about running for office. So my personal mission is to help everybody reach their God-given potential. In the political context, that means building a bench of quality candidates, not just in Florida, but anywhere in the United States. So, you know, we need candidates who care about our issues, can fight for them, who are ethical and will make our community proud, not just as Haitian Americans, as Black people, but also as just human beings who care about doing the right thing. We have ample example from the White House on down of people having the opposite kind of candidate. We need good quality candidates. So I am planning a training for candidates in early August here in South Florida. If you are interested in participating in that or know somebody who should be, please don't hesitate to contact me. Again, my website is dottiejoseph.com, D-O-T-I-E Joseph.com. And I want to underscore what Assemblyman Vanel said about the census. Our communities tend to be undercounted. When I say our communities, Black people, immigrants, and Haitians in particular, which means we get less resources and less representation. For the first time in history, we can identify ourselves as Haitian Americans on the census. Please, please, please do that, because it does and it will make a difference. If you have questions about anything I've said, feel free to reach out. Again, the website is dottiejoseph.com, D-O-T-I-E, joseph.com, or direct message me on Instagram. Again, thank you, Albert, and everybody else on the call. I've enjoyed the dialogue and look forward to hearing more.
Thank you, Dottie. Thank you very much. Again, Dottie is running for office, so don't forget to go and visit her website. She will type all the information for us in our chat room. Going next to Louisiana, Dr. Jacques Bingue from AHEAD.
Thank you, sir. Really, really appreciate it. You guys doing a great job. Since a lot of the speakers have addressed the issues that I was going to address, the speech that I was going to make, I would like to pass my time to Judge Jean-Baptiste, because remember, before we had Black Lives Matter, we had Haitian Lives Matter, and he's one of the leaders who's been fighting for us in the community. So thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Good job.
Well, thank you, Dr. Bingue, for yielding your time to Judge Jean-Baptiste. Before we do that, we're going to Dr. Magalie Backer from Virginia. Dr. Backer. Dr. Magalie Backer. Not hearing from Dr. Backer. We'll see if she queues up. We can go to California to Guerline Joseph. Guerline, please unmute yourself.
Good morning, Albert and everyone. I don't know if you can see me or hear me.
Yes, we can.
I was having some difficulties on my end. And due to short time, I'm going to be really quick. So many things have been said before me. And thank you, Representative Joseph, for touching on so many different points. My first experience with police brutality was in New York when Abner Lima, was sodomized and left for dead in this bathroom stalls in New York. And I remember my father made a point to go visit Abner Lima, along with Michael Jackson and Jesse Jackson and all of those people. While we were standing in that room, I was very young, yet I saw this man completely disfigured, a brother you know, that we knew from Haiti. That was my first interaction, my first acknowledgement with police brutality. Now, fast forward for now, watching the lives of Brother George being taken in public, again, took me back to that moment. And then hearing all of those people who came, you know, before me speaking about Black Lives Matter, we at the Haitian Bridge Alliance have partnered with Opal Tometi, who is one of the co-founders of Black Lives Matter, because we understand that Black Lives Matter no matter where you are born. So in this fight for Black lives, my role primarily is to bring together the African diaspora, you know, whether you are from Haiti, from the Caribbean, or from the motherland, to the African Americans who are descendants of slaves in this country. Understanding that the fight for Black lives is a fight against a system that has been oppressing and suppressing lives for over 400 years. Understanding that when we Haitians or Africans come to this country, it doesn't matter what language we speak. The moment we step foot into this land, we are Black. And when the police stops, they don't care if you speak Creole or French or whatever. They will shoot the Haitians the same way they will shoot the African, the same way they will shoot the African American. Understanding that this is our fight. You know, we hear a lot of different things. And that's why we continue to bring our ancestors to this fight, understanding that the Haitian community have been leading the fight for Black lives for a very long time. And we continue to bridge that gap. One of the main things that we also need to understand is how the criminal justice system is interacting with the immigration justice system. Understanding that a Black immigrant is 10 times more likely to end up in prison and be deported than others because of over-policing of our community. Understanding that Miami have a large number of young men and young women who are Haitians in the criminal justice system because of all of those different issues. And I know we are pressed for time, so I will just say that I believe in our motto of "Un pile main chai palou, l'union fait la force." That's why I was very excited when Albert invited me to join this amazing panel. So my call is to continue that fight for Black lives, no matter where we are from. Get engaged in voting in the census. Get engaged in immigration issues, because we understand that immigration is a Black issue. Immigration is a Haitian issue. So thank you so much for having me, Albert, and I hope that we can get together again soon. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Guerline. I know you're doing great work in San Diego with the immigrants crossing, Haitian immigrants and other immigrants crossing the border. Thank you for the work that you do, and thank you for joining us today. Dr. Magalie Backer, you were muted before. Please try to unmute it on your end. Chris, see if she's unmuted. Dr. Backer, I know we've been communicating on text. I know you're there, but we cannot hear you. I'll give you a chance to clear it up as play some music.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. I just want to echo what Guerline just mentioned earlier. L'union fait la force, and I am a proud Haitian. I think that we are natural freedom fighters. And this is a critical time in this country as Haitian Americans for us to join all children of African descent to combat racial injustice and modern day lynching. I think that this is also, there are three concrete ways that we can really address this. The three solutions Al, I think is that first, a cultural shift to address some of our own biases within our community that, you know, sometimes, unfortunately, at the personal level, perhaps our families might have taught us that, you know, don't act the way some of the people act here in the States, et cetera, colorism issues. So we need to work on sort of shifting some of those attitudes towards understanding that we are all Black people. And then secondly, recognizing that we are immigrants, we are beneficiaries of our brothers and sisters here and all of the advocacy and their long fight in fighting for racial injustice, fighting against racial injustice here in the United States. So recognizing that we owe a lot of thanks to African Americans here who've been fighting. And then finally, I want to say that collectively, we can only achieve this together. Our motto is Union fait la force. I think if we are not able to go marching, go protesting, supporting all of the initiatives that, you know, just mentioned on pretty much by everyone on the call, collectively at the end of the day is what matters. Because if we don't, we'll find ourselves being set back another 200 years. So I really hope that Johnny Celestin mentioned us, you know, engaging further, joining a cause, supporting our our candidates here in the United States. I think that together is the only way that we can overcome these challenges. Thank you very much. And on behalf of Haiti Renewal Alliance, also known as HRA, I thank the United Front as a partner. Thank you, Albert and Gigi Lionel, for your leadership and all of the members of the United Front for your vision in trying to move this initiative and other initiatives forward for the Haitian people. Thank you and have a great day.
Thank you, Magalie, and of course, thank you for the work that you do in HRA, especially in the disaster response area and the business leadership as well. Thank you. So the next person, I'm gonna cue a little music so I can get her to be ready. The next person will be, well, first I wanna apologize. I want to apologize to Saurel Quettan, who had to leave the line. He's the president of the Chamber of Commerce of Georgia. I think he would, there's many words that he could share with us. He's a very wise gentleman. We missed on his speech today. I will send my regrets again to him for not having him on the call. The next person that we have is actually an ex-Obama appointee to the Commerce Department. So as she gets queued, I want to introduce you to Cleve Mesidor. Again, she was a ex-political appointee for Obama. Cleve?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Albert and United Front, for allowing me to be here and adding my voice. I want to say Black Lives Matter. And the greatest example for me is Breonna Taylor. Breonna Taylor. She was killed on March 13th. As was mentioned, 3 police officers broke into her home in Kentucky. She was 26 years old, an EMT. She was killed. Her fiance, who was in the home with her, was the only person arrested because he tried to defend himself when police broke into their home. So she's dead. He was the only one arrested. None of the 3 officers who murdered her have been arrested. Now, one of them was fired from the police department and now is disputing that. So we cannot let up. We need justice for Breonna. Black Lives Matter is important. A lot of people say Blue Lives Matter, why not all lives matter? It's because we need to remind them that all lives matter, and Breonna Taylor is a great example of that. I work in the cryptocurrency area, and we talk about decentralization. Black Lives Matter is about decentralization. People complain, who leads it? Who's in charge? No one owns it. It belongs to everyone. It's a movement, and it has goals, and the goals is supporting Black lives. So it's great that the Haitian community, African communities are involved. There are tons of ways to get involved that I would recommend. One is supporting legal defense funds. I will tell you, I'm all about Baji, who works with Guerline Joseph, NAACP and others, I'm not for the ACLU because when our people need help, they're not going to go to the ACLU, but Guerline and Baji are going to have to scramble for resources. And also, I want to encourage people to participate in protests, but also, to support some of the policies. I'm a big supporter of defund the police. Learn more about what that means and consider to participate. Lastly, people say to vote, vote, vote. Wonderful. I worked in the Obama administration. I worked 15 years in Washington politics. Know and hold people accountable before you elect them. Find out who's in their campaign, who have they hired, who looks like us, who are in their leadership. That matters because it's just like a marriage, right? If somebody doesn't do something while they're dating you, engaged to you, it's not gonna happen when you're married. So we can no longer afford to hope things are better. We have to hold people accountable before we elect them. So again, Black Lives Matter, Haitian Lives Matter. I'm thrilled to be here. And I feel there's a new generation shifting in terms of the collaboration between Gen Xers, millennials, Zoomers, and boomers. Thank you.
Thank you, Cleve. Thank you for being so patient with us because we know we went over time and you were also early. We want to apologize for everybody who had to wait. I do have. I hope Charlot Lucien is back online. Charlot, are you back online? Can't see Charlot. Charlot, are you there? Okay, I do not hear Charlot. I'm gonna play a little music as we cue in the next speaker, and will be also the last speaker. So Judge Jean-Baptiste, please get ready. So again, this was a program put together by the United Front, Black Lives Matter, Haitian Black Lives Matter. We heard from different leaders from different states and Haiti and Canada. We heard a lot of things that you who are listening can do to actually effectuate change. Each one of us can actually do something in this fight. If you want to go in the streets and fight, then do that. If you see a candidate that you want to support, they said support our local businesses. There's so many ways that were suggested here to help in this fight. So again, we want to thank you for joining this program as we bring in our judge from Chicago, Judge Lionel Jean-Baptiste, who's been very active in the Haitian community, in the American community, who actually walked the walks in the early 70s as well, and to today. So the song that I played today, I wanted to say something about it. I wanted to bring us to our roots, and also this song is asking for all of us to put together and sing this song with me, this songs of freedom. So that's why I find it was fitting to put it as a background music. And how are we doing under these oppressions? How are we? And together we are always going to be here. We are a group of fighters. Our parents are fighters. We stand in their shoulders. We have their strength. Let's call our drum beats are beating in the streets to call on our ancestors to help us, to give us strength as a community. Like they said, join the other communities and have this fight. And for once and for all, let's bring this fight so that we have full equality in this world. Judge Jean-Baptiste.
Thank you very much, Albert, and thank you for all of the members of the board of the Haitian United Front, Fonds Unis de la Diaspora Haitienne, and to all the executive members for this extraordinary kind of outreach. We stand on the shoulders of our ancestors, as Albert had just stated, and they cry out to us to continue to right the wrongs that have been imposed upon them, for so many centuries, there's been a transfusion of resources from the Africans to the Europeans. And the Europeans stand pretty well healed, pretty well off, almost everywhere that they are. In whatever nations that they're at, they're dominating. Their quality of life is much higher for them than the quality of life of the Africans. We've always have to look from the bottom up, but we've always struggled. So for every moment, I think C.L.R. James said in his book, The Black Jacobins, that for every moment that we were enslaved, we resisted, we fought back. So imagine the brutality that had to be imposed upon us to keep us in line over such an extraordinary number of years. And so we fight for our ancestors, we fight for ourselves, we fight for our future generations that will follow us. We also fight to repair the harm. So a lot of the fight that is going on right now, Black Lives Matter calls for reparations. And I think that, you know, if we think about the Haitian struggle, it took the lead in trying to undo the slavocracy that had dominated the entire Western world over such a long period of time. It is our Haitian brothers and sisters who took the lead and restored the humanity of the Africans back to them, so that every nation in the world, all the Black nations, Senegal, Ghana, whenever you talk about the Haitians, they recognize the contributions that we have made, and they recognize the interconnection that they have with us. And so in speaking of interconnectedness, every aspect of our struggle is interconnected and interdependent on one another. Today, we are here, many of us as Haitians, Haitian-Americans, we are here enjoying certain civil rights that we could not have enjoyed in the 1950s and 1940s. And so it is a product, our rights that we enjoy today, and I think Dodie Joseph might have said that, is a result of the work of our brothers and sisters in the civil rights movement and the anti-Jim Crow movement, the anti-Jim Crow terror movement. And so they have set the stage for us to continue to do the work that we do. And many of us, we are the harvest of that work, because so many of us who have been able to access higher education, quality housing, professions, et cetera, that were historically closed to Black people. It is because of the fight of our predecessors here on this land in the United States. And so just as we, as Haitians, has set the stage for African Americans to have gained their emancipation, because we broke up the whole slavery business. We broke it up in Latin America. We broke it up in so many places. We too depend on their work that they've done to advance the struggle. So as we move forward, we have to get organized. We have to stay organized. We can't just observe the world. Black Lives Matter is telling us it's not about observation, and it's not about just getting along, going along to get along. We have to participate in the process to make a difference. And when we say Black Lives Matter, it's not just, as Albert say, going to the street, although it's one front of the struggle. But as Dodie had mentioned, it is about running for office, whether it is at the school district level to look out for our kids, whether it is on county boards, whether it is as state senator, whether it is national office. We matter, so we've got to be able to make our statement to make a difference. And also at the level of organization. The United Front is an organization that is intended to try to build a broad coalition of forces to make a difference. Not only make a difference where we act, we have to fight for our empowerment here in the United States, or folks in Canada, folks in France, but also we have to make a difference in Haiti by fighting for better governance to make sure that our nation continues to make a positive difference in the world. So don't just observe the world, people. Engage, participate in it to make a difference. The fight for Africans all over the place is a fight to repair the harms. Hence the fight for reparations, for Haitians in particular. We know that we've had to even come out of our pockets to pay a debt, a ransom to the French. We demand the restitution of that fund as well. So it is together that we'll move forward. The organization has already, Albert said, HaitianUnitedFront.org is the website. Get on that website, join, participate, put your hands together to make a difference. So thank you once again for this broad array of great folks who have stepped up to share their wisdom. And I'll say forward ever, backwards never. Thank you.
Thank you, Judge Lionel Jean-Baptiste, for the last words. We want to thank everybody who participated in this program today, especially you, the viewers. We want to thank the speakers. We heard from Mayor Joseph Champagne, Tamarre Torchon, Joshua Moise, Aurelie Matthieu, Firmin Backer, Evans Grammont, Assembly Clyde Vanel from New York, Marylin Toussaint from Illinois, Attorney Nunotte Zama from Boston, Massachusetts, Sebastian Decady from Maryland, Louis Elneus from Connecticut, Tonia Vernet from Maryland, Junior Philistin Jean, New Jersey, Sorayah Moise from Virginia. We also heard from Commissioner Monestine from Florida, Chirs Jeanty from Haiti, Rebecca Noelle from Boston, Massachusetts, Johnny Celestin from New York, Derick Laguerre from Canada, Eugenia Charles from DC, Marylin Pierre from MD, Representative Dottie Joseph from Florida, Dr. Jacques Bingue from Louisiana, Dr. Magalie Backer from Virginia, Guerline Joseph from California, Cleve Mesidor from Washington, D.C., and Judge Lionel Jean-Baptiste from Illinois. We regret that you did not get to hear from the following. Habacuc Petion, thank you for agreeing to be here, but I guess you could not make it. We also did not hear from Charlot because I guess he had another scheduled event. And we also regret to have not heard from Saurel Quettan. Like the song that plays in the back, change gonna come. So I'll leave it as that, as you log off, or you can stay and listen to the rest of the song. I also want to thank all the United Front board members and all the executive board and everybody who put their hands together to make this happen. Thank you. And go to www.HaitianUnitedFront.org for more information, and please join the organization. Keep on the fight. Change is gonna come. Bye-bye now.